Alright, so we've talked about data, databases, database management systems, and servers. We also talked about the language that we use to be able to query these. We will focus on using Microsoft, and from here you can see Microsoft Server does have its documentation. We've gone to the page. You can select the version you need. You can select whichever version you want to go to, but we'll focus on SQL Server. On SQL Server, we select the year. The most recent is 2022, so that's where we currently are. You can check out the documentation. There's a lot of stuff for you to use out there, but what we need to do is set up our environment. So we go to SQL Server download. You can download SQL Server or the tool to be able to use in this DBMS, SQL Server Management Studio, SSMS, or Azure Data Studio. You can directly go to that from the click on the top right. All right, so that should take you to this location, depending on if you want to check out your system on the cloud, on the edge, or on premises, if you're a developer, and if you just need to use your desktop or small applications, depending on your installation environment or platform, you can choose and go from there. So for me personally, I just downloaded the Express since I'll be using my desktop to demonstrate these. But in an enterprise environment, you probably already have the system running. Okay, so you can try using that, downloading it. For the tool, rather than using SSMS, I'll go ahead and use Azure Data Studio. There are many ways you can actually connect to your database. You can use Visual Studio and connect SSMS to it. You can also use Visual Studio Code and connect using an extension. Azure Data Studio, you can download that directly. I've already done that. Follow the instructions for downloading and installation. Alternatively, you can use DBeaver, which is a free universal database tool. Okay, I downloaded that as well. You can download the community version depending on what platform you're using. This should work on all the platforms as well. So it's up to you which one you'd like to use. All right, so let's check out the quick installation of SQL Server 2022 Express. All right, so here we are. We need just the basic one. I've downloaded it. We're currently going through the installation process. Let's do a basic installation. Read the entire license terms and install it. Tells you the minimum size space or minimum free space needed on the download side. Install and you should be good to go. From then you can start running your information. But before you do that, while this is downloading, something else you need is database. Okay, so we can create a database from scratch, or we can use one that is already been created for us. So if we go to any of those links, you should be able to see an option to download those databases from there. All right, so there's quick starts and so on and so forth. But quick search on downloading some of the databases you'd see Northwind database, AdventureWorks, and so on and so forth. So quick search in here should provide us with that. So AdventureWorks database, and there you go. So from there you should be able to see the different download options. Okay, you can download whichever one you like, whichever version and so on. So that's how you get to AdventureWorks. Also, you could use Northwind database download. Again, still with Microsoft. There are many versions out there. Understand that Excel is a very lightweight tool to work with data. In addition to Excel, Microsoft also has Access. Microsoft Access, which is a database management system, but not as powerful as the SQL Server and the other options with Oracle and other companies. So if you're going to work with Access, then you can download Northwind sample database in here. If you're working with SQL Server, you download that as well, and that's for Northwind. AdventureWorks, you also have it in here, and it's probably going to point you to GitHub, and we've talked about GitHub already. Now this is to get SQL Server Management Studio, SQL Server Express, which we already got, and it's running. So we're not going to use this. We're going to use another tool, Azure Data Studio, or DBeaver. So here you can get to the link to download any of these databases. Awesome. Our installation is still proceeding. Once it's done, we should be able to go from there. While that is going, let's take a look at what we've installed already. So let's go to Azure Data Studio. So once that opens up, we should be able to see what it looks like. That has already been installed. And Azure Data Studio, you would notice that it looks very similar to Visual Studio Code. Okay, while that is opening up, there you go. Let's maximize it so you don't miss anything. Awesome. I wonder why it's lagging so much. So on the left column, again, looks very similar to Visual Studio Code. If you watch my previous video on web development, you can click on the column to check out the Explorer. The search option is there. We have notebooks that you can use. Database projects, you can create one and set them up accordingly. There is your Explorer. You can clone repositories from GitHub or also locally. Here is your source control, again similar to Visual Studio Code, and extensions that you can use to make your work easier. At the bottom left, you have your login. You can log into your accounts locally or remotely, and you can manage the setup, how you want your theme, and so on and so forth. So previously we had a color theme that we had changed for dark modern, and now all of a sudden looks similar to what we had with Visual Studio Code. I will close this and go back to the other tool since we're just checking them out. Our installation is still taking a minute, so let's check out the other tool, which is DBeaver. We already downloaded that as well. I don't think we've installed it yet. Ooh, interesting. All right. So the installation is not going to conclude since this is currently running. So we'll wait for that to finish up. Once it's done with the installation, then we'll go ahead and install DBeaver. Between download it as well, you come in here and download the correct version. Core version is probably going to cost you a little bit, but community version is free, so you want to stick to that. Always make sure you check out the documentation for all the software that you work with. Documentation is imperative. Make sure you read the manual. Always make sure you read the docs. Okay. Download was successful. Installation is almost done. Again, it gives you some advice here. You know, if you have questions for support, join their forum. It also gives you a link to download sample data. So again, it's going to point you to GitHub. It's always good that you learn about Git and GitHub, as we've done in the previous video. So check it out. Let me know if you have any comments, questions, concerns. I'll respond to every single one of them. So again, to obtain a different image for Linux, since you don't have a Microsoft Windows, that's totally fine. They have those options available for you. And the next link, I think, should be the one for the GitHub. So once everything is done, okay, we should be good to go. And installation is almost complete. We have our sample data, which I wouldn't bother downloading it now. I think we're going to use SQL instead. So we produce the environment per se. We produce the databases in there. So here's the link that contains sample codes or code samples for SQL Server, and you can use that, or you can get it by linking to the GitHub account. Let's go ahead and click on that anyway, and we can always go back to our installation once it's complete. Awesome. So in here you have databases. You can open that and check them out, or you can simply just fork this and you should be able to get everything. There are different categories in there. Again, sample databases for each one of the different types of tools that we can use, and so on and so forth. And let's see, are we ready? Not yet. Almost. There you go. So we're good to go. Express edition is all set up. Connection string is in there. We can copy this and save it somewhere else. The administrator's information and so on and so forth, version, and yeah, you can go ahead and connect. Install SSMS. We're going to skip that. That's a connection string we're going to need. All right. No need for customization. That's totally fine. Let's go ahead and click on connect. And now we've connected to the server. We should be good to go. All right, awesome. And that's about it. Each time I need to use it, I can use that connection string and I should be good to go. Sounds great. And we can start setting up our systems and so on and so forth. So again, this is just a simple, let's make this bigger. This is just a simple select query. It's selecting the version. It's telling us the type of version that we installed. We installed Microsoft Server 2022, and one result was returned. That's about it. So we can go ahead and start creating databases within the server and so on and so forth. All right, nothing here to show again until we start off with the tool itself. So once we get our tool, we should be able to go from there. A few things that we're going to do: we're going to look at how to create a database, how to create a schema, how to create a table, and so on and so forth. We'll also be able to look at how to read the database contents, to read how many tables or schemas are in there, to also read the table's content, to read how many records are in there, the types of records, particularly from one table or from multiple tables. We'll also be able to modify the contents, okay? Modify the contents in those tables, as well as modify the objects or the structure of the objects. All right, renaming them, adding columns, removing columns, which is not a good idea, and so on. Finally, we'll talk about how administrators can use SQL to be able to grant access, revoke access, deny, and so on and so forth, making sure everything is safe and secure. All right, that's all for now. Catch you in the next video.